Hello, good afternoon from Geneva. Good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Ask WHO Social Media Live Q&A session. My name is Janowet, and I'll be your host for the conversation today. So let's dive right into our agenda today. This Sunday, upcoming Sunday, on the 19th of November, we mark every year the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. And for us at WHO, this presents a perfect opportunity to emphasize the significance of road safety and discuss how we can make roads safer to prevent traffic injuries and deaths. And it's also a moment for all of us to reflect on the lives lost on the world roads. And it is my great pleasure today to welcome our special guest joining us for the live session. First off, we have Dr. Etienne Krug, WHO Director for Social Determinants of Health here in Geneva. Afef Benguenia, founder and president of Les Ambassadeurs de la Sécurité Routière from Tunisia. And then we have Daniel Langenkamp, a road safety campaigner from the US. And last but not least, Celia can't make it today, but we have Daniela Gomez, another member of the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety from Colombia, joining us today. Welcome everyone to today's live session.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. To start with, I think, Etienne, perhaps could you give us an overview of the status of road safety in the world?
Or the status of lack of road safety, I would say. I mean, we're still very far from where we'd like to be. We've been working on road safety for a while now at the global level, and I think we have improved awareness, we have improved the desire to take action, and in some countries we really see action. But unfortunately, we're still at 1.3 million deaths every year on our roads. Road traffic crashes continue to be the leading cause of death for young people in almost every country around the world. And we have to do more. This is a tragedy, killing people, causing a lot of disability and suffering, and also costing society an enormous amount of money. So we know we can do more. We have a decade of action ahead of us, and we're working on it.
Thank you, Etienne. And then we'll get into that, what we can do to improve road safety. We are all aware that road traffic injuries result in significant losses across various aspects of individuals, their families, and nations as a whole. Afef and Daniel, you shared with us before that you have both experienced the loss of a loved one in a road traffic crash. Would you mind sharing with us what the circumstances surrounding this loss were, and what have been the long-term consequences on you and your family? I'll go to Afef first.
Yeah. Thank you. But at first, I want to thank you for this opportunity to be able to share. Because it's a special day for all the persons who lost someone on the roads. It was my case because I lost my brother in a terrible traffic crash at the age of 38 years old. He had just his first baby as a result of the irresponsibility of a driver who was driving too fast. Unfortunately, the shock was terrible, and my brother didn't survive to that. That day, he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. So say maybe if he had been wearing the seatbelt, he could have survived and seen his little girl grow up. So that's why my association and I advocated for the mandatory of the seatbelt in urban areas, and we arrived successfully to promulgate the law that is now in Tunisia since 2017. Wearing seatbelt in urban area is compulsory. So the consequences of this loss have marked us for a life, and everything has changed. Honestly, our family has been upset by this morning. The place of my brother is irreplaceable. Our vision of life has been transformed, and we are living with this fear and anxiety that at any moment we can really lose someone who is dear to us.
Thank you very much, Afef, for sharing this with us. Going to Daniel, please.
Thanks, Janowit. So I'm a U.S. diplomat, and I was serving in Ukraine and on the Ukrainian border with my wife, Sarah Debink-Langenkamp, and we were evacuated for our safety, and we came back to Washington, D.C., this area where we were setting up our family. And my wife, on the day she was killed, was riding her bike from our children's new school, from their open house, just riding along in a bike lane when a truck that was in a hurry, without looking, just turned to the right, didn't see her, and just, I don't want to say hit her, because he didn't just hit her, he crushed her. And so in the wake of that, of this tragedy that has struck our family, I began to see that I was just so angry about what happened that I began to advocate first in the news, because I'm a public affairs officer at the State Department. So I spoke to the press a lot, but then I began to organize friends and neighbors in the community to do bicycle rides in honor of those who have died. So on this day, like on Sunday, we're organizing the Ride for Your Life, where hundreds of bicyclists will ride around Washington, visiting different crash sites. This has changed our. I mean, obviously, any loss of a family member is devastating, as people all over the world know. Traffic deaths are particularly gruesome and violent, and those images of the violence really never go away from you. So on top of the death, you also have this trauma that you're dealing with. So it's been tough for us, I must say.
Thank you very much, both for sharing your story and an experience with us, and then my condolences to both of you. As Etienne mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, young people are at a higher risk on global roads, and with road traffic injuries being the main cause of death for those aged between 5 and 29. Daniela, as a member of the Global Youth Coalition for Road Safety in Colombia, you may have encountered many young people who have experienced road traffic crashes or lost someone in such incidents. Could you please describe maybe the impact of these events on their lives, especially for young people, for us, please?
Thank you. Yes, I could say that all of us have known a young person who has lost a loved one, or who had been severely injured due to a road crash, or even lost their lives. These are not isolated cases, because unsafe roads are the leading cause of death of young people, as you just mentioned. Thank God I have not been involved in a crash, even though I'm an urban cyclist in my hometown city, Bogota. But I've seen a lot of cases of young people around me. I've even helped people on the road while I'm commuting on my bicycle after they maybe have been affected in a road crash. I remember back in 2020, during the ministerial conference in the Minute of Silence, I got a message saying that a former teammate from a cheerleading team I was part of lost her life in Argentina due to a high-speed vehicle. And it was right in the moment when we were doing this minute of silence. So I was really impacted and shocked because I could see that this fact that every 23, 24 seconds a person loses their lives on the road, it's pretty real. I also remember during high school, a young girl who broke her leg because she was hit by a car in front of our school, and she loved dancing. She had to go through surgeries. She was like physically and emotionally affected. She had to stop dancing. She couldn't attend the graduation ceremony, and she also got behind in her studies. So I think it really impacts in different levels the lives of young people and everyone around them.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Anything to complement Etienne? Perhaps maybe you can tell us the risk factors for these road traffic injuries?
Yeah, thanks, Janowit. I mean, before answering your question, I really want to thank Dan and Afef for being with us, sharing their loss, and present my condolences, but also all my admiration for turning this very hard and tragic event into a fight for the rest of the world. So you have all my admiration, and really thank you for being with us today also. Because this is actually senseless. We know what needs to be done. We know the
Yeah.
causes of road traffic crashes, and we know the responses. The first thing we need is political will. We need top-level decision makers at the national level and at the local level to
Yes.
say enough is enough. We can do something about this.
Yeah.
Second is put people back at the center of our transportation system. Right now, we have a transportation system designed for cars. We want big roads where cars can drive as quickly as possible, and we push the pedestrians and the bicyclists and the public transport to the side. That's not the way forward. We know our cities are stuck, we are polluting, and we are killing people on the road. And then we need a system where the people are at the center, particularly those who have active transportation, those who walk, those who cycle and use public transport. So we need infrastructure designed for that, cycle lanes, sidewalks, safe crossings, etc. We need vehicles designed for that, vehicles that don't go so fast, that are designed to protect pedestrians if there is a crash. And we need changes in our behavior, which are usually caused by good laws on speeding, on drink driving, on helmet wearing, on car seats, on seat belt wearing, and enforcement that goes with it. If we design such a system where the people are at the center, where we have the laws, the infrastructure, and the vehicles that are safe, as well as good emergency care systems in case there is a crash, we can save more than 1 million lives every year and avoid all this needless suffering.
Thank you very much, Etienne. Before I go on with the conversation today, I would like to welcome our followers and viewers who are joining us from all corners of the world. Today's topic is about road safety ahead of the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims. If you have any questions or any thoughts, any idea for any of our speakers today, you can simply leave your question in the comment section. Or if you are watching on X or Twitter, please use hashtag AskWHO. I'm just going to go back to Daniel. From the story or the lived experience you shared with us just now, I understand that you said you've become a road safety campaigner since then. How did you turn this event that you've experienced into action for road safety? Could you elaborate more on what you've done so far and what you're planning to do in the future?
You know, when it first happened, I began to read about other deaths that had happened on the roads, and I began to realize that Sarah was just, was not her crash was not an accident. It was part of this huge trend that was taking place not only in America but all over the world. In America, we're at 40-year highs of pedestrian deaths in America by vehicle. And bicyclist deaths are also at decades-long highs. And then I read about how all over the world, 1.35 million people die every year in traffic crashes, and that is just, to me, is just shocking. I mean, it's more people than die by AIDS, and it's more people than die from malaria, which the international community spends billions and billions and billions of dollars to try to correct. So I began to speak out about it because I was just so angry that not more is being done to protect people on the roads. I've been a lifelong biker, never an advocate, but it's always occurred to me that the roads need to be safer for people that don't want to drive in cars. It's as simple as that. If you want to walk, or if you want to push a stroller, if you want to ride your bike, you should be able to do it. But somehow we have begun to focus only on cars in our society. And I think it's a problem. It's a problem for the environment. It's a problem for our health. It's a problem for a lot of reasons. So I just couldn't hold back, frankly.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you, for Afef, given your background as a lawyer,
Yeah.
what specific issues are you or your organization flagging as most in need of urgent attention for road safety right now?
Yeah, for right now, so as a lawyer, so we tried with my association to advocate for the review for some laws that we deeply, because we are convinced that legislation is very important, so to secure the life of road users. So we need a better legislation, better enforcement. So we advocated for the mandatory of the seat belt, and in the front seats. And now, so we are advocating for the rear seats because it's really important. Also, we advocated for the limitation of the speed to 30 kilometers around school, and we arrived finally, so in June 2023, to promulgate the law related to the limitation of the speed, and we are deeply now convinced that the results will be really positive, and that will be decrease the number of traffic crashes among children. So that's really important. So to act for better legislation in my country, and as a part of my consultancy work with WHO, as I had the opportunity to work with the legal team for the review of the traffic laws for the Arab countries, for the preparation of the fifth global studies that will be released next in the coming weeks. So I think that that's an urgency now for the moment to act for better legislation for Arab countries, and I'm sure for many other countries in the world, to make roads more secure and more safety for all the road users.
Thank you, Afef, for sharing this. And Daniela, building on your insights, as a young road safety advocate, could you elaborate on the role of youth in promoting road safety more?
Yes, I would describe young people's role as a key and crucial role. As the most affected age group, we need to be part of the solution. We need to be engaged, meaningfully engaged. And even the plan for the decade of action states it firmly and clearly. We need to be key stakeholders and key partners for to avoid more people losing their lives on the roads. I would say that we have at least 3 skills that can help save lives. First one is creativity. The second one is communication skills, and the third one is awareness on our local reality. I think creativity is useful whenever we want to think out of the box, and I think road safety needs that. And it is also needs to be combined, of course, with all the evidence-based interventions. But again, creativity is really useful, and we bring that, of course, as young people. The communication skills as well. Those are linked to being able to raise awareness on a wider community, to link and engage other young people, and also to promote campaigns and action through social media, which is, of course, a powerful tool. And then our awareness and knowledge of our local realities, that's key whenever we want to improve road safety in our communities, in our cities. And I think that we can be allies, we can be assets, we can be partners, but we need to be meaningfully engaged. We need the political will that Etienne just mentioned, of being systematically involved. We need investment on youth-led projects, and we need formal mechanisms in the government for our systematic participation.
That's very interesting, Daniela. Before I go to Etienne just for a little bit, I just wanted to remind our viewers that if you have any questions for any of our speakers today, please leave it in the comment section below. If you're watching us on X, please use the hashtag AskWHO. Etienne, do you have any simple tips for the public for staying safe on the roads in our daily lives?
Of course, it varies from country to country, but there are some principles, and I think Dan highlighted the fact that everybody should be able to walk safely, bicycle safely, walk with a stroller safely, and it's true. So I think, first of all, is all act responsibly, outside the car, in the car. we all have a duty, I think, to protect others and ourselves from crashes. So, the first thing is to respect the laws. I think it's also investing in road safety, which means, buying safe cars rather than fast cars or fancy cars. It is also, I think, as citizens demanding more action. This is not an unsolvable problem. There's many complicated problems
Yes.
in the world that we don't really know what to do about. This one, we know exactly what to do
What we
about.
have.
We just have to do it. And how do we get it done? Well, I think sometimes we need to encourage politicians to take the right decisions. Maybe in the beginning, passing a new law, increasing fines or things like that are not very popular. But when people realize these things actually save lives and they get information that lives have been saved thanks to everybody's efforts, it is worth it and people accept it. And so, demanding more action is certainly something all of us can do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Etienne. Any other comments for the tips for our audience? Daniel, maybe?
Yeah, I was, I mean, how to stay safe on the roads. I agree. We have to have safer drivers.
Yeah.
There's this idea of complete streets that people can look up, which I really like. And our Department of Transportation in the U.S. government is implementing this, trying to push out these ideas. The idea is that you have safe drivers, and that means education, that means practices that drivers have, that means enforcement of driving laws. That's important all over the world. You have safe roads, and that means implementing standards that have, where roads have sidewalks and there's a separated bike lane in heavily used areas, crosswalks and things like that that are very simple and cheap to make. You have safe vehicles, and that means, I would love to see standards like automatic emergency braking in cars that don't have as big blind spots, or trucks that have systems that allow them to see bikers, safe vehicles. And then you need safe speeds, slowing people down. Just having laws that say you can't go fast in an urban area, things like that. And then we need post-crash care. I mean, to make people safe, you need to have ambulances that respond quickly and doctors and emergency rooms that are ready to get crash victims. So those 5 things in the safe systems approach is very, very, I think, very effective. These are the solutions, the practical, cheap solutions that any country can implement to improve road safety and get this number down. I mean, there's just no reason in the world why this should be the number 1 killer of young people around the world. It's just, it's tragic that we're not doing more about it.
Yeah.
I totally agree, Daniel, and these are interesting points to raise. Afef,
Yes.
as a lawyer,
Yeah.
these
I
any
think.
challenges, to implement these law in countries. Have you seen any?
Exactly.
Please.
Sorry, the question?
The question is, we talk a lot about implementing the laws and regulations in countries to make roads safer. As a lawyer, you think these measures could be easily implemented, or are there any challenges that you have seen in the past years?
It's a long journey, honestly. So we have to persist because, as Dr. Etienne says, so we need the political will, and we need to make and to persist. And to continue with positive pressure on our decisions makers to allow more and more priority to road safety. That's what we need to do, because now I think the urgent thing that we have to push all our decisions makers to rethink mobility, as Dr. Etienne said. So we have to rethink mobility where people can walk, cycle, and use public transport safely. So it's a new aspect that we have to allow more and more priority to that, and to act towards better legislation, better enforcement, and a better safe system. So it's not easy, honestly, because as a lawyer and as advocate for road safety, so it can take many years. So for the review of the law, of the enforcement of some law, but I think we have to act and to persist, because the human life have no price.
Yeah, I think it's, as you said, it's not easy, but I think it's possible.
It's possible, yeah.
Thank you. Now I'll
Totally.
take a couple questions from the audience. Reese and Charles, watching us on LinkedIn, they are asking about driving age limit, underage limit, and overage limit. Should this be one of the solutions, Dr. Etienne?
Yes, of course, there needs to be, and I think in most countries there is a law that there is a minimum age and there is no maximum age usually, but there are some tests for older people. But frankly, that's a tiny part of the solution. It's something to look into, but it is not the major problem. The major problem is excessive speeding, drink driving, non-use of seatbelts or motorcycle helmets.
Yeah.
Those are some of the big issues. The lack of infrastructure that is appropriate for vulnerable road users. Those are the bigger issues that can be solved.
Yes.
Thank you. Any thoughts from you, Daniela, Afef, on this question?
Yeah, I think same that Dr. Etienne. So it's not a major problem. So it's one, but it's not the main, because we have some risk factors that we have to allow more priority, like speed driving, and drinking and driving. So many others, so that are more important.
Thank you very much.
I agree.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. I agree. I think we need to implement evidence-based interventions based on this systemic approach. We cannot expect that maybe only education or one solution can bring the change in this very complex problem, which is the road safety crisis. So I agree that that's maybe a little tiny bit of what we need to do and where we need to put the efforts on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daniela, for your thoughts. Thomas Mioba, watching us on LinkedIn as well. This question is for Daniel. You, being road safety campaigner, what are some of the challenges you faced in achieving this goal, and how did you overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge when I started this was just the fear that I would not be successful or that nobody would show up, and or that no one would care. And actually, I found the opposite when I began to talk about what happened to our family and explained how big a problem this was. The response was actually excellent. I mean, people really sympathize and they care. I think that this is an issue actually that is waiting to become a more important one. And as people learn about it, they do care. There is another problem, and that is that people are addicted to their cars. And inside their cars, they're also addicted to either going fast or they're addicted to using their phones. So there's a lot of dangers that exist that are new on the roads. And, it is a challenge for any campaigner to break through to the millions of drivers that don't want to change the way they do things. That, campaigners like me that want to confront the cultural addiction that we have to driving. So while I feel like we've been successful, really making a difference in a large scale is hard. And you just have to believe in your cause and keep moving forward, slowly changing minds.
Yeah.
Maybe the same questions goes to Daniela as well. As youth group working to promote road safety, any challenges that you faced?
Yeah, many. I agree with Daniel that there's like a whole cultural infrastructure that promotes cars and that sells it as the way that everyone should aim to. And maybe they underestimate cycling and walking and public transport, which are more sustainable, sometimes more efficient. And it's not our fault. Like, our cities have been designed to promote the car-centric culture. So that's something that really goes under, of course, the design of the cities as well. And it takes a long term effort to change this reality. As a young advocate, I think sometimes they also underestimate us because of the age. But every time more and more we're showing that we are partners, we are allies, we can do many things, we know our local realities, and we can be allies in this journey to save lives on the roads.
Thank you very much. We have quite a lot of questions coming in. There is another question from Perita, watching us on Facebook. She's asking, how can road safety policy be implemented effectively in low and middle income countries? Maybe I'll give this to Etienne.
Thanks. Yes, of course, low and middle income countries are key if we want to achieve the target of the global decade of action
Yes.
of reducing by 50% the number of deaths, because that's where 90% of the deaths occur. But that's also where the most progress can be made, because it's very hard to make more progress if you have already reduced by 80 or 90% your death rate, as some countries have done. So I think the first thing, as I said, it's political will. We need prime ministers, presidents, mayors of big cities to take on this issue, to take on this cause, and make sure that the right legislation is adopted and enforced, make sure that there is good infrastructure, thinking not only about cars, but also about vulnerable road users, which are the people who walk, who cycle, and who use public transport. And then think about the safety of cars, and as we've said, the trauma care system. It's all doable, even in low-income countries and in countries that have very little resources or cities. It is possible. The good news is that these measures are cost-effective. Some of the measures, like speed bumps, have been even listed among the most cost-effective interventions in public health. More cost-effective than vaccine or stopping smoking or this or that. Just simple speed bumps. Okay, people don't think about speed bumps as being public health, but they are. They save lives, and they can be put
Yeah.
in place in the poorest of countries.
Yes.
All right. Maybe Etienne, could you maybe elaborate more a little bit on WHO works on road safety, what we have been doing so far up until now and into the future?
Yeah, in
Briefly.
WHO, as you can hear, probably we're very passionate about road safety. We see this as a very important issue because it is the leading killer of young people, because it is also an issue that is among the leading causes of death for all ages. So we have been advocating for more action. We have been demanding and guiding governments to do more. And then we are working on some specific issues like data collection, supporting trauma care, and advising on how to improve legislation and enforce it. Finally, at the global level, we're also involved into monitoring the situation. And on the 13th of December, just less than a month from now, we will be releasing our next global status report on road safety, which with a little bit of good news, showing that some countries are really taking the issue seriously and doing better. But certainly, we know much more is to be done. And we work closely with young people. We work closely with organizations that represent those who have been affected, the so-called victims organizations, as well as with governments and UN agencies all around the world. Finally, we're also trying to reach out more to the private sector because, as we know, a big proportion, between 30 and 50% sometimes, of crashes are linked to people who are driving for work or going to work or coming back from work. And so getting the private sector to do more is also part of our agenda.
All right. Thank you very much, Etienne. Yes, there so much needs to be done, but I think we're getting there. I have this last question. I'm aware of the time from Chandrika Prasad Brahma, watching us from on LinkedIn. She has this very interesting question because we talked a lot about political commitment and implementing policies and laws. So she is asking, how can the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims be used as a platform to mobilize political commitment for road safety and road traffic victims issue? I go to Daniel first, and then we do the round.
Yeah, I think, this day is very, very important, not only to remember our loved ones, but to advocate for change. That's why I did the ride that I did last year. We had over 2,000 people that road from my wife's crash site, the place she died, all the way to our U.S. Congress. And in front of Congress, we held up a petition that said we want some legislative changes. We want more spending on bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, and we want safer trucks. And, that helped raise more than $50 million from the U.S. Congress for a program that is being implemented today. And this year, what we're doing is doing another bike ride where we're going from crash site to crash site all over the city. We're bicycling, and we'll have hundreds of bicyclists again. And we'll have the news there, and we'll have some elected politicians there. And we are going to be talking about this issue. So I think that the awareness will be very helpful for this. And, we need it. We need the attention. There's a law in the Maryland legislature right now that I'm pushing with some other people, and that needs support. Our elected politicians who support this need to see that there are people that believe in this cause in order to have their own political will. So if we as citizens don't stand up and make our voices heard, then those politicians that support us can't have that political will. So it all works together.
Great point. Thank you. Daniela.
Yeah, I think these days, I agree with Daniel. This is an amazing opportunity for us to raise awareness on this issue that maybe many people are not aware of. Maybe people they say, okay, these are accidents, this had to happen, but they don't see it as a preventable situation, as a preventable issue, and we can raise awareness and say, this didn't have to happen. We could have prevented people losing their lives or getting severely injured and having long-term consequences in their lives. Here in Colombia, many organizations are moving to maybe pass laws to, let's say, the mandatory use of child restraint systems to maybe avoid the child commuting in motorcycles, to make sure that enforcement is being taken seriously in our country. And this day is a kind of the platform for civil society organizations to work on it and to raise awareness on this crisis that is affecting the world.
Thank you. Afef, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I think that this day is a very special opportunity because it can push us to act, and it can push everyone to act and to be a part of a solution. I think it will be an opportunity to organize a press conference, to involve media and journalists, and to invite decision makers and to discuss what we have to do because it's urgent to act and to save more lives on our roads.
Thank you very much. These are very great points to raise on such an important topic and issue that we are talking about today, road safety. And as our time is running out, I'm just going to turn the floor to Etienne for any final remarks.
Well, first of all, thanking you, Yanowit, as well as Dan and Daniela and Afef and everybody who joined us. Because yes, to answer your last question, this World Day of Remembrance that we will be celebrating, and maybe it's probably not the right word, on Sunday, is an opportunity for all of us, first of all, to think about the lives lost and try to understand what it means for all those families that have lost a dear one this year and over the last many years. I say try to understand because I think it's impossible to understand really what it means unless it happens to you. And it happens too often. And I think we use this day to remember, but also to call for action. And I think the statistics speak for themselves. 1.3 million dead, leading cause of death for young people. But if you attach those statistics to these human stories, which are a drama, each single one of them, you can only say, let's do more. Let's all make an effort personally, but let's also demand action for these and get these solutions that we know work put in place. But thanks to everybody for joining. I think it was a great opportunity to discuss some of these important issues.
Thank you very much, Etienne. This is a great point to end on. And everyone, this Sunday on the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims, as Etienne said, and as everyone says, our guest said, for all the during the live. Don't forget to remember, support, and act. Remember those who have been lost on the world's roads. Show support for road traffic victims and their families. And last but not least, take action to promote road safety in your community. And if you want to learn more about WHO's work on road safety, please visit our website, www.who.int. And thank you everyone for tuning in from all over the world, from DRC, the Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, India, France, Greece, Iran, USA, Sierra Leone, Gambia, Nepal, Kenya, Colombia, Israel, Brazil, Ethiopia, Portugal, Namibia, and many more. And thank you, Etienne, Daniel, Afef, and Daniela for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you with us. And see you next time. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yana.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet everybody.
Nice.